That day John Wayne did something that made the 200-person film crew freeze. He stepped in front of his rival and defended him without saying a word. The Paramount Studios lot. Stage 12. August 1969. A Western film called The Undefeated was in production. Standard shoot. Standard day. John Wayne in his element, dusty costume, weathered hat, that walk that had defined American cinema for 4 decades. Until the moment he stopped walking and everything changed. It started with a mistake. A young actor named Robert Garrison, 32 years old, rising star, fresh off 2 successful films, cocky with new fame, had blown his line for the 7th time. Same scene. Same mistake. The director was getting frustrated. The crew was getting tired. And Wayne, who'd been standing in the hot sun waiting for Garrison to get it right, finally moved. Not toward his mark. Toward Garrison. The set went quiet. John Wayne didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. His presence did the work. When he started walking towards someone with that specific gait, slow, deliberate, shoulders set, people paid attention. Garrison saw him coming. The younger actor's face went pale. He knew what everyone on set knew. He'd been screwing up, wasting time, wasting money, testing the patience of a living legend. Wayne stopped 3 feet from Garrison. Looked at him. Said nothing. The director, Andrew V. McLaglen, stood up from his chair. "John, we can take 5 if you need." "No," Wayne said, still looking at Garrison. "We're going to do the scene right now. And Robert here is going to nail it." It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact delivered in that low, gravelly voice that had narrated 1,000 sunsets and showdowns. Garrison nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, sir." They reset. The cameras rolled. Garrison delivered the line perfectly. That should have been the end of it. A teaching moment. A little pressure applied by the veteran to get the newcomer focused. Standard film set dynamics. But during lunch break, everything went wrong. Wayne didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The catering tent. Wayne sat alone at a corner table, reading a script, eating a sandwich. He preferred solitude during breaks, time to think, to prepare, to conserve energy. At 62 years old, every scene took more out of him than it used to, though he'd never admit it. Garrison entered the tent. He'd been drinking, not heavily, but enough that his judgment was impaired, enough that the morning's humiliation had fermented into resentment. He walked straight to Wayne's table. Loud enough for half the tent to hear. "You made me look like a fool out there." Wayne looked up slowly. Chewing. Swallowing. Taking his time. "I made you look like an actor who needed to focus. That's the job." "The job," Garrison repeated, his voice rising, "is not being treated like a child in front of 100 people. Then don't act like one." The tent was silent now. Crew members frozen with sandwiches halfway to their mouths. This wasn't entertainment. This was dangerous. You didn't confront John Wayne. You especially didn't confront him drunk and angry in front of witnesses. Garrison leaned forward, hands on Wayne's table. "You think because you're John Wayne you can." "Robert." Wayne's voice hadn't changed volume. Still quiet. Still controlled. "You're embarrassing yourself. Walk away." "I'm embarrassing myself?" "You're a washed-up Calba actor who can't even." That's when Marcus Webb walked in. Marcus Webb. 58 years old. Character actor. 25 years in the business. Solid work, never a star, always reliable. He'd been in 3 previous Wayne films. Respected professional. He was also the man everyone on set knew had a complicated history with John Wayne. 10 years earlier, Marcus had been up for a lead role in the Alamo, Wayne's passion project, his directorial debut. Marcus had tested well. The studio liked him. He was perfect for the part. But Wayne had vetoed him. No explanation given publicly. Just a quiet word to the producers, and Marcus was out. The role went to someone else. Marcus's career never quite recovered from that near miss. He'd spent the last decade playing supporting roles, watching from the sidelines while others got the parts he should have had. Everyone knew Marcus had every reason to hate John Wayne, to resent him, to enjoy seeing him confronted by an angry young actor. Marcus walked straight past Garrison, straight to Wayne's table. And everyone in that tent assumed they were about to witness something ugly. Marcus looked at Garrison, then at Wayne, then back at Garrison. "Robert," Marcus said quietly, "you should leave." Garrison blinked, confused. "Stay out of this, old man." "I can't do that." "Why the hell not?" Marcus glanced at Wayne, who was watching him with an expression that gave nothing away. Then Marcus looked back at Garrison. "Because," Marcus said, his voice steady, "you're about to do something that'll end your career. And I won't watch that happen to a kid who doesn't know better." Away from the cameras, Wayne made a choice no one expected. John Wayne stood up. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just a slow unfolding of his considerable frame until he was at full height, looking down at both men. "Marcus," Wayne said, "you don't have to do this." "Yeah, Duke. I do." The use of the nickname was pointed. Familiar. These two men had history that everyone knew about, and no one talked about. Garrison was looking between them, trying to understand what was happening. "What the hell is going on?" "What's going on?" Marcus said, still not looking at Garrison. "Is that you came in here drunk and angry and looking to make a name for yourself by picking a fight with a man who's forgotten more about acting than you'll ever learn. And I'm not going to let you throw away your career because you had 3 beers and an ego problem. I don't need you to protect me from—" "You're not hearing me, kid." Marcus's voice hardened. "I'm not protecting you. I'm protecting the rest of us from having to watch you self-destruct." Wayne was still standing, still silent, watching Marcus with an expression that might have been respect or might have been something else entirely. Garrison's face was red now. "Fine. Whatever. This is ridiculous." He turned to leave, then spun back. "But we all know what he did to you, Marcus. 10 years ago. The Alamo. He screwed you out of that role and you never got another shot like it. So why the hell are you defending him?" The tent was so quiet you could hear the generators humming outside. Marcus looked at Wayne. Really looked at him. And something passed between them, some understanding that had nothing to do with the kid drunk on ego and everything to do with men who'd lived long enough to know that some resentments aren't worth carrying. "You want to know why?" Marcus said. "Because 10 years ago, John Wayne made a decision about casting that I didn't agree with. And for a long time, I was angry about it. Bitter. Felt like I'd been robbed of my shot." He paused. "But 6 months ago, I found out something I wasn't supposed to know. Wayne didn't veto me because he thought I couldn't act. He vetoed me because the studio wanted me to work for half scale. They were going to lowball me, exploit me, and Wayne told them if they wouldn't pay me what I was worth, he'd find someone else." Wayne's jaw tightened. "Marcus." "He cost me that role," Marcus continued, "to protect me from being used. And he never told me. Never defended himself. Just let me think he was the bad guy for 10 years rather than make the studio look bad." Garrison was staring now, the anger draining from his face. "So yeah," Marcus finished, "I'm defending him. Because that's what men do when they finally understand what honor looks like. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding." John Wayne sat back down, picked up his sandwich, took a bite, as if nothing had happened. Marcus turned to Garrison. "You want to stay on this film, you apologize. Right now. And then you walk out of here and you think real hard about what kind of actor you want to be." Garrison looked at Wayne, who didn't look up from his sandwich. "Mr. Wayne, I'm sorry. I was out of line." Wayne chewed. Swallowed. "Apology accepted. Now go sleep it off before call time." Garrison left. The tent stayed silent for another moment. Then, gradually, conversations resumed. People went back to their lunches. The moment passed into the background noise of film production. Except for Marcus, who still stood at Wayne's table. "Duke," Marcus said quietly, "why didn't you ever tell me?" Wayne finally looked up. "Would it have mattered?" "Yeah. It would have." "Then I'm sorry I didn't." Wayne gestured to the empty chair. "Sit down. We should talk." They talked for 40 minutes. About the Alamo. About studio politics. About the roles Marcus had played since, the choices he'd made, the career he'd built despite the setback. And at some point during that conversation, Wayne reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. Handed it to Marcus. "New picture starting in 3 months. I'm producing. There's a role I want you to read for." Marcus looked at the card. "Duke, you don't have to. I'm not offering because I feel guilty. I'm offering because you're right for it. And because what you did today, stepping in when that kid was about to torpedo himself, that takes guts. That's the kind of character I want in my films." But what followed would stay with everyone who witnessed it, forever. The production wrapped 6 weeks later. The film was moderately successful. Robert Garrison went on to have a decent career, though he never achieved the stardom he thought was his destiny. He later said in an interview that John Wayne taught him more about acting in that one lunch break than 4 years of drama school ever had. Marcus Webb got the role Wayne offered. And 3 more after that. His career experienced a late renaissance. Critics started calling him John Wayne's secret weapon, the character actor who brought depth and gravitas to supporting roles. But the real story, the one that circulated quietly through Hollywood for years, was about the moment Marcus stepped between Wayne and Garrison. Because everyone who was in that catering tent understood what they'd witnessed, not a rivalry continuing, but a rivalry ending. Not grudges being nursed, but honor being chosen. John Wayne could have let Marcus walk past. Could have handled Garrison himself. Could have enjoyed watching a man who'd resented him for a decade struggle with the choice of whether to help. But Wayne did something else. Something no one saw coming. When Marcus stepped in to protect that young actor, Wayne stood up. Not to confront Marcus. Not to assert dominance. He stood up as a sign of respect. An acknowledgement. A silent way of saying, "I see what you're doing. I see who you are. And I was wrong to think you couldn't handle the Alamo." One of the crew members, a camera operator named Frank Morrison who was there that day, said years later, "I've worked on 100 films. Seen 1,000 confrontations. But I never saw anything like that." 2 men settling 10 years of bad blood without raising their voices. Without making a scene. Just respect. Quiet, earned respect. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. Wayne and Marcus became friends after that. Real friends. They worked together 4 more times. At Wayne's 72nd birthday party, months before the cancer would take him, Marcus was there. They sat together, 2 old men talking about old times, and someone overheard Wayne say, "You should have had that role in the Alamo, Marcus. You were always good enough. I just didn't want the studio treating you like you weren't." The business card Wayne gave Marcus that day in the catering tent, the one offering him a role, Marcus kept it in his wallet for the rest of his life. When Wayne died in June 1979, Marcus was one of the pallbearers. He stood there in the California sun, helping carry the coffin of a man who had protected him by letting him think the worst for 10 years. At the funeral reception, someone asked Marcus what John Wayne had taught him. Marcus thought for a long moment. Then he said, "He taught me that real strength isn't about being right. It's about doing right. Even when no one will ever know." The business card is now in the Academy Museum in Los Angeles. Next to it, a small plaque reads, "Given by John Wayne to Marcus Webb, August 1969. An offer of work. An act of honor. A friendship restored." Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. John Wayne never spoke publicly about what happened that day. He didn't have to. The people who were there knew. And they told their children. And those children told theirs. Because some moments don't need explanation. They just need to be witnessed. And remembered.